Hello everyone and welcome back to Guitars and Music Tech. Today's episode we'll be talking about delay. What is delay? Delay is kind of like an echo, but we don't call it an echo anymore. We call it, in music we call it delay. Imagine you're in a big valley and you shout out and you would get an echo from the mountain in front of you, right? If you have an opposing mountain, then your voice will be bouncing back and forth between the two mountains, and we call this an echo or a delay. So a delay is different from a reverb since it's very clear, it's defined, and it have the exact same sound repeated over and over again until it fades out. This is a true story. When I was in my early teens, I accidentally discovered tape delay. I had this type of tape deck, with cassettes. It had a recording head and also it had a playback head just after. So the sound was recorded on the first head, and when it goes to the playback head, I was able to hear it instantly. Most tape decks do not do this, but this one was able to be able to hear what you're recording instantly. So with the little delay, which is basically the sound that you're hearing that was recorded is a little bit later because the playhead is just after the recording head. So by accident, I had a little mixer and I fed back what I was listening to the input and mixed with the input, and what I got is a feedback loop. So the recorded sound was going in, it's going out, and it's going back into the recording sound, and it was doing a delay. I had tape delay. It's constant. I could not change the speed of the tape deck at the time or the distance between the heads, but it's a tape delay. And I was so impressed with this. I was so loved. I was like, oh, look, I'm just using I put a cassette there and it plays. When it's finished, I flip it on the other side and I keep playing, and I have a tape delay for the amount of the 1 hour of the cassette that was there. So in real life, actually tape delay work with this, but in an infinite loop of the tape. So the tape never ends. There's no ending for it. It just keeps going in circles. It turns around itself. So in the delay device, the controls are basically delay time, which is how far, if it was on that tape deck that I was having, like if you push the playback head a little bit further from the recording, so when it's recorded and then it moves, how long it takes before you can hear the recorded sound, the delay time that you would get. And then you have how much you're adding to have the feedback, how many repeats do you want before it fades out. So the volume of the feedback also will give you that. Plus sometimes now you can have the mixing between the actual delay and the real sound that's going in, so that you don't have, you can control how much delay volume you are getting. If you put the feedback to 0, so basically you get one instance of the delay. And that we call this a slap back delay. So just one and it stops. There's nothing else there. And these are the basics of delay device. All the other buttons, you see some delays or some plugins, they have many buttons in there. What do they do? Basically, you can change and add things like a ping-pong delay. What is that, a ping-pong delay? When you play ping-pong from the right to the left, if you're sitting in the middle of the table watching the ball going to the right to the left. So basically, they pan the delay. The one time it goes to the right side, the right speaker, and the next delay will go to the left speaker, and that's what they call a ping-pong delay. Sometimes the delay also, the copies are treated with some type of equalization, making it less bright on each pass. So it emulates some kind of damping. So you can control the EQ on that. We will be talking about EQ in the next episode. Or sometimes you can have a phasing or chorusing effect on the delays that are coming back and on. And at the end of the chain, you usually put of the delay machine, you want to put some reverb because it will be so dry too. So we talked about the reverb before. So when you have a chain you want to put that reverb at the end after the delay. You don't want to put it before the delay. We discussed in when we talked about reverb why it makes it so nice to have a reverb. It's because it gives that type of chordal effect, which makes the note sustain longer, kind of, and blend with each other. So one note blends with the next note, and then it sounds beautiful. When we come to delay, actually that becomes even more pronounced. So this way you have even more uh, blending, because you have the whole copy of the sound repeated, not just sustained a little bit. And then you can really time it so that you can have really the note doubled exactly like someone else is playing with you, to have that type of delay. You will hear also about a digital delay. The digital delay is basically a delay machine that reproduces the delay for you perfectly. So it's like a digital recorder, so you just play it back. It's not very desirable sometimes because the delay will distract from the original sound, because it's as clear as the original sound. That's why tape delay, which actually muffs the sound a little bit and distorts it a little bit and cut the high end of it, is more desirable because it's less pronounced and less clear than the digital delay. But now with the EQ that they put on the delay, they kind of mimic the effect of a tape delay. But when you're having a delay as a function as a doubler, that to make the sound much thicker and wider, especially if you pan the original to the left and the copy to the right, and you have a very, very short delay, digital delay, then that's desirable, because then you really need it to be as clear as the original. So this is in the case of doubling, using a delay as a doubler to make the doubling effect and make those chords on your guitar sounds for two people playing. It's like a chorus, but without, we'll talk about chorus later on. It's more without any phasing, without any detuning. It's just so clear. I personally always kind of like to put the doubling effect and pan it right and left, so that it gives you a much bigger sound. Before even delay were invented in the old days, some composer might have been sitting there between two mountains and liked the effect of hearing his voice being bounced from that mountain in front of him. I said, okay, I'm going to write a music like that. And this is what we call a canon in composition. So basically you write the same melody and repeat it along with the first one, but delayed by a bar or whatever amount of beats that you want. And one of the famous, you can see this even in a pop song. They used some songs used this type of canonic effect, kind of like a delay, in a song like California Dreaming. You know that song, California Dreaming? Go Google it if you've never heard it. It's a fun song. And you would see the sentence repeated but delayed. So that's what they call a canon. We're not usually using a delay machine here. We're just using the composition to mimic a delay before even they invented delays. But that song is new, but still using the canon as an example of earlier compositional using canons. And I think they call it cannons because the cannon, when you shoot a cannon, it's so loud, and most probably there be some far mountain that you will hear it back, slapping back. So you'll hear it back, and that's like the cannon effect, because, I guess so. I'm not too sure. But when they used to compose the cannons, they had to make sure that the notes, like matching the counterpoint between the two notes, follow the rules of music, which is very strict at the time. And right now with the digital delay, that doesn't happen. Of course, we have smart delays that will pitch shift the delayed sound according to the scale of your song so that the delay will become like a canon that is automatically matching with your original sound. Amazing, right? We are in the age of amazing stuff with AI and all those smart devices these days. But in the original days, with digital delay, just repeats and that's it. Before that, those canons, you had to study music and make sure you don't do parallel fifth and all that strict music rules that they had. So for you as a guitar player, the delay paddle comes in a paddle, whether it's a digital delay or a tape delay or an analog delay, which is even similar to a tape delay, using electronics only. I used to have one of these, and I always had the problem with it that it's not as clear. Maybe it was good, because usually you don't want the delay to be so pronounced and so clear when you're playing in the context of the song. So digital delay with high end cut for me worked really well, especially if I ping pong it right and left. It gives this little space, and it's, of course, as I said, you put this before the reverb. It's a very important thing, especially if you play solos. Your solos have to have some kind of a delay, or else it will be so dry, even with lots of reverb. And if you put too much reverb, then it mushes everything out. So the delay, a little delay, with a little reverb to taste, will give you the best results in a mix inside a band or a recording, so that the solo will still be beautiful, still be sustaining and talking and communicating with everything else in the song and other instruments. So yeah, so that's about it. I hope I shed a little bit of light if you had no idea what's a delay and why do they call it delay. Delay means I'm late, but never delay what you have to do today till tomorrow. That's the thing, right? So echo is the same thing. It's an echo. It's the delay. All right. So hope to see you next time. Bye-bye for now.